and a member of the board of the Blue Hill Historical Society, and I run a whole organization. This series of collaborative talks, organization, theme is Maine's cultural heritage. The next speaker, Kevin Murray, professor from the University of Brooks, will speak with 7 centers on Hill and beyond. Kane is 6 p.m. August 20th to Blue Hill by American Historical Perspective. The series is the rest of them and look aspects local history, culture, stimulation to local. We need more. And historical consciousness era and civic dialogue is so frankly. American history, as I've been years, Atlantic history and beyond, is a simple story, but is usually dynamic, understanding, interpretation over time. That means doing this with the more way. Yet our public generally reduce past to zeros and notions of freedom. Tonight we're very to have our talk John Bear of the Penobscot Nation from Maine. He presents as the Native and Education Coordinator Maine Wabanaki Outreach and Development. Was a well-known speaker, multicultural. This talk can, I guess, what we know, Wabanaki stories, cultural resilience in Maine over time. Come and talk.
Have me. I saw the car going on.
So, flyers, feature talks, if anybody would like, I'll leave them up here now.
Thank you.
Hopefully we have a reception afterwards, and if you take questions, you'd be willing to, I'm assuming.
I'll be drinking too much. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I don't even drink.
Okay.
I'll smell a bottle cap, I'll be toast.
Thanks.
Well, this is very formal. So,
Doesn't have to be.
yeah. Excuse me? No. So it's good to see familiar faces. There's so many familiar faces here. I just, you know, and there's unfamiliar faces that I hope become familiar faces. I apparently have a little, who touched my, that was quick. Somebody had that light. Was nice, actually. But John Bear Taliwi English, Kachimo and Miswell na Taliwi Skijin Awadu, Benwapskag na Nalchayao, the Dil Nabamok Muin, Nagakakagus, Ijiboli Dadabali Skijinui, Ijiboli the Hudum Gizi Skijin Wadwi. So my name is John Bear Mitchell in English. Kachimo and Miswin is my name in my language. I come from a village in this river called Penobscot. It means where the rocks stick out of the water. And my family are from 2 different clans, 2 different families, the Bear and the Crow. The Crow is my primary, that's the maternal, and we are a matriarchal society. We take our mother's names and clan first, and then our father's second. And I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to share what I have with you, and I hope you have some questions after. But this is sort of a discussion too, and I'm going to walk around a little bit. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of nice. It was a little bit higher next time. So I, just kidding. I'm lonely right now. But I'm just like so no, I'm just. Yeah. Let's put it out. So anyway, I work at the University of Maine, but I'm also known as a storyteller, and been on the storytelling circuit for a long time, and will be in performance storytelling as well as theater and other things we're working on right now in opera. And I'm not singing. They're singing about me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just helping with the design. But yeah, so I work a lot in different kinds of theater and production and design, and also with the art myself. So you know, I kind of love those two worlds of education and art. I think it's the same thing. And I definitely think it works well with storytelling, because before there were radios and TVs, before there were books or cell phones or computers, there were teachers who were storytellers. And that's how we learned. And if everyone were sitting in a classroom with a storyteller, so to speak, you might all walk away with a different teaching, and that's what it's supposed to be about. You all walk away in the same teaching. We're creating a monolithic-minded society. Doesn't work very well. It's a one-legged horse, and you're trying to race it. You're going to go really slow. And so, because you're going to be dragging that horse. So I take pride in being able to tell these stories, and I want to specifically talk about this waterway, this water system we have in Maine, and I'm going to tell you a couple different stories. And these stories really play in, and they're ancient, but they teach us modern things. Well, all ancient stories teach modern things, and even if it's modern time, in about 300 years from now, they'll be telling this story, and it'll be the modern teaching that they'll get. Why? Who knows? But it's all relevant. And the stories, like people, grow. They're not stagnant. They're not sort of cast in a certain time period where other people can't relate to them. They're meant to be told in different ways. My style of storytelling is a lot different than many others, and that's what makes us all unique as storytellers. However, the main point of it is to get the lesson out to people who are listening. 5 years in a row, in the mid-90s to early 2000s, I paddled from Mount Katahdin to North Haven Island in canoes, and in a canoe, and with other people who were in a canoe. So there was several canoes. That's why it was plural. I'm explaining myself. I do that. Instead of just correcting myself, I'll just go ahead and just give you the essay. But I got to learn a lot about the waterway. I was a whitewater canoe guide, so I always did sweep canoe. You know what that means? No. Well, look it up. No. So sweep canoe is the safety canoe in the very back, which is really boring to be, especially by yourself, and especially on the water. It's just like you can't talk on the water. And we had walkie-talkies then because, yes, there were no cell phones back then. And so if they were that long antenna, I could hold them with and Miami Vice. But they had these, we had walkie-talkies as we come down the river. So as we come down the river, adventures, they were horrible, and they were great. And even though I almost died a couple times, like I thought I was dying, I didn't, by the way. I was learned a lot, because I learned why my ancestors called that point around Sears Island, the place where you die. And I learned what they called a certain place between Bucksport down through Orono Island, the place where you need to know how to swim. So I learned a lot of why they call places what they called them. And the fact of the description was important to me, because I'm coming down there, I'm going like, oh, I get it. Shoot. And, and so, yeah. I'm sweep canoeing. So I'm coming down the river, I'm wondering to myself every time I did, it was 230 miles one way. Most of it was ocean, tidal, salt, which was a challenge because it irritated when we paddle. But I would wonder, what am I seeing, right? Landscape law, my ancestry law. And I couldn't put a finger on it because I didn't know if hills were moved, if water had risen, if dams created gouges that inside of the river that were not there. And so I was sort of wondering, like, what is this all about? You know, what does it mean? And why do I care? Well, I care because my Bible name is water. Penobscot. And it's a large river that starts in Maine. Holds our, that's very important. My tribe has given it human status. They recognize the river as a person with its own individual right to health and well-being and nourishment. That's how important that river is to us and the bay. And it's huge. And so, anything we do, we want it to benefit everybody because we are all humans, and that's important. So, I want to tell you a story about how that river came to be, and I've got several people here who have been several of my stories, but we're going to, if you've heard this one, we're going to put it in the context of the ecosystem, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about it. I don't talk about stories. When I tell a story, I walk away. I walk away. And then you have your own thing. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. I think that's important to have a dialogue around this living that has people, you know. Tribe is very intertwined. It's not even like we're not separate from the river. We're out of the river. And so it was really interesting to see that ship come up, you know, and be honored. And I love craftsmanship. I could see the craftsmanship in it. But if somebody made a beautiful statue of Hitler, which had a single iota of craftsmanship in that statue, would that still be honored? If they put around Paul, and still some people in that loved statue loved what? Okay, probably. So they had to deal with constantly being slapped around by symbolism and told to get over it. But you can't get over trauma. Nobody can. Nobody who experiences trauma can get over it. You just learn how to live in a positive, productive way for yourself and other people that you love and care about. This river has been through trauma. It's trying to live that way as well. So I have to introduce you to a couple. I'll introduce you to a person first before I tell the story, because it's not it's very relevant to the story. Instead of explaining to his name is Scub. In old dialect of Penobscot, we called him Glue Scabe. Nerbe, I mean, is my friend. Need no holds no. Are very specifically general, unless we're specifically talking about population. And so, old Nerbe, you're a friend that's going to be with me no matter what. You know how you have a friend, and have these friends that you're with all the time, that no matter what happens in the ship circle, you become angry, walk away from me, and I'll talk for a little while, still friends in the end. That's only stronger. Glue Scabe, that is a person who embodies every trait of human. Your shining, your celebration, your happiness, tears, your modesty, your egoism, your what may be. Every single trait you have in Glue Scabe portrays a mass of. So in other words, it's I don't know what now I had it just a minute ago, but it's more you're sensitive and you feel like you're angry, and it would be 10. He doesn't get angry. He gets very angry. He gets very excited. So he's like a kid sometimes. But he was magical. It implies that he came from nothing. It doesn't mean that he's a lower citizen. It means that he didn't exist until he created himself. Reached over, formed the dirt arm. What happened? He reached, formed an arm to standing there. ground and his body and his head. I am. The Creator gave him life, gave the earth life. So create yourself. And our messenger to the Creator. He was the in-between. He was vulnerable, but he was not human. He looked like a human. He was put here before humans. He was to learn every way of the land. He was put here before the ages. And he watched animals. He learned the land, and he welcomed people. We came, however he did, back 12,000 plus years ago. And he taught everything we needed to know. But he was given magical power, so to speak, as we say. He could change himself into an animal, like a deer or a rabbit, anything he wanted. And he could hop around, have fun. And did that to observe and to see what was going on. But he was also, could turn one that could turn himself into a tree, a cloud, a rock, grass, and water. And he would experience that too. So he was very sort of out there. He could do what he wanted to do. He learned about the things that abilities he had over time. Some he didn't know he had, and all of a sudden, wow, and it caused problems. Just for him, but for people. So Cubs in this, he's very important. He was given the ability to make things better so that humans live among animals and animals equally. But also that the animals had to know that they give themselves in the plant, had to know that their lives were expendable. People came in and plucked them on the ground because no matter what we do, it has life. And in order to maintain life, you have to take life. And plant life and animal life is equal. And so we honor that. He was one that in that sort of way of mode of teaching. And so he was extremely important for many of our students. But your kids leave. And that's sad. It feels different. I had two leave, and I can't wait. Not that one. That's my granddaughter and I. She's my woman in my life right now. It's just her and I at home. But she's my son's daughter. He passed away in 2017. So it's been her and I. When your kids leave, it's okay. It feels different. It's a whole different switch. But you turn the bedroom into a living room. They're all good. You know. That's what everybody said, so I got a sewing machine in there and everything. I don't know what to do with it, but knitting needles. But anyway, this is like, I still expect them to text me and ask me questions about life. You know, Dad, how do you make that spaghetti sauce again? Oh, yeah. 2 cans of this, can of that. Put it all together. But anyway, you give advice. And after a while, they stop giving you advice. But then you start to feel sad. You start to feel unimportant, not valued. When you start to feel like that, you got to reflect. You know what? I did such a damn good job that they don't ask me questions anymore. Although I miss all that questions, and I told them to stop talking so many times. You know, we can't wait for our kids to walk and talk, and then we tell them to shut up. You know, like for the rest of their life. They're walking in. Great. You know, and it's downhill. But Bruce Cub was sort of in this moment. He felt like he was needed, but people stopped asking him for advice. He left us. And he said, take this pipe. Barrel of the pipe. Keep them separate. We come together, the spirit of the earth and the spirit of the air come together. And that forms a ceremony. And then put tobacco mixture in there, different things from our forest. The balance of male and female plants. Light it, smoke it, blow the smoke straight. If it makes a smoke, I'll smoke it, I'll know calling. I'll come I might not physically come to you, able to answer the question in a dream, or a vision, or in a thought. And so, Glooskap has left us. But all our stories are of Glooskap. And a long time ago, people had by this stream. It wasn't very wide. It was wide enough. Couldn't go through to get your water drinking. A long stream, many just lived there. You never knew anything in that stream. That was a life source. That was the vein of the earth. And you did it as you would embody it. So it was used in a good way. Water went from it. It was utilized for transportation. It was used to cook with. You would drink from that stream. You would go to a spring. But you use that water for whatever you needed to use it for. You would fish in it. It would provide you with food. Ducks would come there. You might eat a duck. It's all there. And so they noticed one day, they came out of their houses in the morning, that the water went down. It left a high water mark on the rocks, like when the tide goes out. And we're familiar with the tide. And coming from a coastal area like this, did walk through this island, or this is important to my tribe. There's a lot of places that we've named here. And people are buried here for thousands of years. And when we travel area, we would always utilize it in that way, in that good way. So notice the water went down. And for about a day, they didn't think of it. Before they realized, wait a minute, we're not in the tidal area. We're in fresh water. This is never gone. But there was still plenty of water there. So another day or two went by. They had noticed the water had gone down even more. They talked about it. But there's still water there. The problem, still have to use it. And this went on day after day for weeks. And now there was only water in the deepest part of that bed. Fish were flopping around. Mud was being formed. It was very nice. It was not usable at all. And the realization needed to talk about this. They sat in a council circle with the important people of the tribe, the clan chiefs, war chief, the police chief, the lead hunter. Everybody in this circle. When they're all talking, they light the pipe, it goes in a circle, they smoke down. That's called Glooskap. And they light this, it goes around, they start to talk, what's going on? Why? What's this water gone? Well, no, we noticed it's been on for a few weeks. Why did we take care of it a few weeks ago? Are we talking about it when we don't have it? Why are we talking about it when it's a problem? That's a good question. But what are we going to do about it? Well, I know, said the chief. We'll go to the lead hunter. We're not hunting right now. It's warm weather. We're not doing any parties. We're mostly gathering and fishing around. So why don't you walk up this dried up stream bed to see what's happening? What's stopping this water? Well, and I'm gone. And all of a sudden our food gets raided or it goes bad and we need to go hunting. Who's going to lead our hunting out so that we infringe on the village's land? It takes to 10 acres per person to feed a human. We're a village of 5. We can't infringe on their territories. They're gathering to maintain. I'm the only one that knows that. It's my job. That's true. It's true. You, war chief, 20 wars, walk up the stream bed. There I go. Who'll protect the people? Wars, sometimes they just happen. The hawk at any point in time can decide they want to cause trouble. Yeah, true. Chief, have a war with peace, maybe you'll be bad. War might only last a day. And they might be looking for peace. The Mohawks didn't have much of a chance against us. Back to this day, some people here in language, the nuts. love that. And so, you know, we might need to make the next day after a battle. Oh, it's true. Everybody had an excuse. No one wanted to walk up this dried up stream bed. We'll put a message out to anybody that wants to walk up that stream. Come here to the campfire outside at sunrise tomorrow. Yeah, they're sure going to get many volunteers. Put out the word in the morning, sitting there, and it's dark dry, and the sun's coming up. It's bright red, not really casting shadows, making more of a aura than it is a light. The forest is still dark in there. They can see either. Nobody showed up yet. Came up a little bit more. It's bright red. Now they can see through the forest a little. Yep. Nobody else showing up. A little more yellow. Everything's time now. And it's full on. And it comes up again, even more till it's white, casting no shadows on the ground. High. Middle of the day. Somebody comes walking toward them. See what it was. Coming in the direction the sun was shining. And every time they took a step, dust would just flop. It was so person there was flop. Person came down, and they waited longer, not much longer, and they looked at this person, and they knew who he was. He was the one that was in charge of sicknesses, diseases, the plants. Gathering, you want to gather plants. Sometimes they were not. And so he knew what was wrong with them. He knew that he had to send you other places. He knew that maybe they had to relocate some of these, or if grow wild culture. We have to clear some trees because they're not getting the sun, or we have to put in some fertilizer, some junks in the ocean like lobster, and spread them out. That's what we use that for. Eat those. And so we need to further enrich that. Why do you want to walk the stream bed? Well, he said, I have no purpose here anymore. The plants are drying out. I heard the excuses yesterday in the circle. And they were excuses. I have the most legitimate excuse, is that what I protect can no longer live. So I need to do this. I need to do this for myself, at least. And I know it will benefit my people. Good. They made him a backpack of everything he needed to go up that stream. They said, don't be gone any longer than 3 weeks. That's when it will be really bad for people. And find out, get back here, tell us what it is. Then we'll do it. So, put his back stream bed. He walked and walked. He passed by the day after. He was. I had asked people, do the stream bed, the water, and they be beyond. Have you? Because if we tell him, and it's not that bad, if we're just being lazy and not following through with what we should have followed through with earlier, and that is trying to fix this before it became a problem, he'll be very angry with us. True. So we're going to hunker down here. But we know whatever's up there can't be good. Has to be bad. Has to be evil. So he kept walking. He said, I still have to go. And he walked and walked day after day after day after day until one day he came to the place where it was very strange. He didn't know he was looking. Because as he went through, he seen these shiny sort of, we would describe it as like plasticky, it's like a used garbage bag just thrown on the ground here, and this bluish, greenish, shiny thing on the ground. know what it was. And so he just kept walking, and he looked up ahead, and he could see these people up, and they were strange looking. They were tall like us, like a human on 2 feet, but long feet with, looked like they had webs between their toes, and they had long arms, webs between their fingers. They didn't have any face like we did, not a nose like we did. They had small mouth, ears up there, but they had small holes. They were hairs, and they were the same color as these things that he saw tied up on the stream. And he was afraid of what he was. He never approached anything before. So he goes up, and he just, you know, if they speak the same language. And he says, "Wened, who are you? What's your names?" And they just looked at him, surprised that they could communicate. How do you know language? They said. He said, "How do you know my language?" We speak the same language. Well, hope maintained throughout many generations, said to him. "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Walking up this stream bed. I'm trying to find what's stopping water. There's so many people down below that are sick. They have no water. And it's sucking the springs dry. And the fish are dying. And we can't transport ourselves anymore. And people are too hot to walk and carry their stuff. We're stuck. We're almost stranded in inland." Yep. You took care of it earlier. Now people are suffering the consequences as we are. And we could do nothing about it. He says, "Who are you?" "Oh, we're the spirits of the water. We protect this stream bed." Well, why aren't you protecting the stream bed then? Why are you offshore? There's no water to protect. Well, why didn't you move down water? It's got to be somewhere down there. It's got to be there. Why didn't you go with the water? We're all assigned to a certain spot to protect that side of water. And since there's water, we have no place to go. We can't get in other people's space. We can't get in the other water spirits' territory. And as you can see, some of us have died, and the water back. Those sections of water will be protected, not by water spirits. It will have to be made up by the people. Humans will protect that water, that the water spirits will protect it. No water spirit can be reassigned to those areas. We have to protect the water we're put in. And many of us have died, and many of us are dying right now. We can't live long outside the water. So we should go back to our people and die with them. And he said, "No. Even if the water spirits feel hopeless, it's got to be a hopeless situation. But we're not going to let it get to that." So what they did was they just said, "Go ahead. Discover for yourself what stopped the water. And understand now that you'll discover it, you can't fix it." Up he went, and he walked and he walked. One day, finally, he came to this huge mountain. This mountain was sitting right in the middle of that stream bed. And it was a strange mountain because it was very wide, but it wasn't like rock. It was like almost like a breathing mountain. Water was like seeping out of it. Mushrooms were growing on it. It was not something you could walk on. It was above ground swamp, so to speak. And so he thought, "No, I can walk around. I definitely can go up on this. I'll camp here tonight. And in the morning, walk around to see. Maybe this is the source of the water, and it's not putting water out anymore. I don't know." So he made a lodge, and just a quick lodge to keep himself away from the insects, and lined it with cedar, because they don't like, a lot of the insects don't like the cedar on the bottom, and put bulb on the top, and that keeps some of the insects away too. That's just a side note in case you guys want to build a lodge. and he made himself something to eat, and he climbed in, and he went to sleep. And in the morning when he woke up, he come out stretched. He was ready to go. Come out. First to the sun. The minute he could see into the woods, it was time to wake and go. And he did. He was all set, put his backpack on, and he went around that mountain. And just as he was walking, he only walked a few minutes, he was on this mountain, he noticed that this mountain was like moving. He was looking at it, it was turning. And he thought, what the heck? And he looked up, and the whole mountain was moving. And he, grabbed a tree, his head, he thought tipping over. And he held to that tree, and he, because it wasn't him, this mountain, and it was, and it scared him. He turned around, just ran that stream bed. Fast he could go for half a mile, and he'd stop. He just couldn't take it anymore. Put his hands on his knees, bent over, just trying to breathe as much as he could, up at this thing, mouth open, sing. First thing in the morning, it's like fear, energy that's expending this was a normal wear on him. And he looked up, and this mountain had finally stopped moving. And we looked way up in one side, he could see an orange circle. He didn't know what it was. And you could see another one. And as he went back further, he realized this was not at all. It was what we call my umpelglow, which is bullfrog. But this was larger than any bullfrog he had ever seen in his life. It was massive. And so he backed even further, walking this, so he could see in front of him. He was about a mile away, about a mile away from it. And he finally could see it. It had crushed the trees. The water was dry. He looked up and he said, "Who are you?" And it said to him this, Majaha. Majaha. Have you heard of bullfrog before? Yeah. Majaha, my language means get away from me. Far away. Go away. Eyesight, really away. Not just like, get. That's close. Get away. Majaha. Get away. And no, I will not get away. What are you doing? You're laying in the stream. You're stopping the water. And it just laughed at him. It said, the more water I drink, the bigger I get. Until one day, I'll rule this world. Well, the water not just for you. And the frog talked again. Maja. Majaha. Maja. Well, he knew the advice he was given from the spirits of the water was true. There was nothing he was going to do. So he turned around, not defeated, but empowered, and went home, fast. And by these villages, realized that our spirits was more sick, it was drying. Things were even the water being at the source from. It was very bad. He finally made it back to his patrol and told his people what it was. He said, we have very limited time to fix this. And it was quickly determined by council that there was no way to fix this other than to call in glue scub. The pipe was put together, lit, passed around in the circle, everybody blowing the smoke to the sky. Within minutes, I could see glue walking up the stream bed, thick rocks looking underneath. Dry. Glue gets there and says, you have to tell me why you called me, but tell me why you called me so late. We made a mistake, glue scub. And if you can't fix it, we need advice on what we need to do to survive. I'll fix it. We'll have a talk about this later, letting it get this bad. So he on his big sort of war armor, he made himself as tall as he could make himself. These pine trees way down there, he was ginormous. Grabbed a tree out of the ground and broke the roots off, took the branches and made a war club. And he walked in the direction of the north, upstream. It took days to get there. It took Glooskap steps. And he goes up in back of this frog and he looks at it. He slams, walks down on the back just as he could, and it just sucked into it. And Glooskap said, "Oh, over the hands." And scare the burning. Finally, face when they're looking water, and the frog said, Majaha. And Glooskap said, "I will go nowhere. Give my people back the water now. It's not just for you, it's for all living things, plant and animal." And the frog just laughed and said, "One kick of my leg, and you'll be flying with the stars." Space. And if you want to know about those stories, I'm going to be on the watching boat at the Night Sky Festival in September, 5 nights. They're all about those. Brown. God did not being threatened. He was so angry, not only at him being threatened, but something had the audacity to take, because steal the largest violation anybody, property, life, or freedom to survive. And he's very angry at that. No one has to anybody, plant, animal, human, anything, the right to water. So he around and he saw the tallest tree he ever saw, about 300 miles away, on the ocean. He reached over and he grabbed it. He could barely lift it, and he slammed it down on the log so fast. As he's bringing it down on top of the tree, broke, and it came down so hard on the back of that frog. The trunk of the tree entered the earth, making it a cavern. All the branches, the water rushed out of the smashed frog, just went up on the land and came down channels. The indentations were so deep, the tree went below them. And they're still flowing down those indentations today, and we call that the Penobscot River. And if you go look at a map of the Penobscot watershed, you'll see the tree. And Glooskap also the frog, that any frog born from this day on will be born with a spine. They'll see human animals when they catch you, where I put that tree on your back. And if you ever look at the back of a frog, you'll see the indentation, so that we were, but they're still. You ever why a frog and it's just get away from me. Not as scary. And so that's the story of Penobscot came to be. In the story, how long ago? Like, what is the time it's done?
20 minutes or something like that.
Okay, so like clock. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I really don't. Is there? Otherwise, I can just. But because when I go home to me and I'm, you know, chat or something. But there's a ton of good movies. So let's process this a little bit. This story. So this story is ancient. It's built over time. Stories are important to us. They're not cute. They're not a novelty. They're important to us. Like any religious text or any spiritual group, Buddhism, whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, Jewish, you know, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, any sort of group that has an organization associated with it has a story to tell. And stories are not unimportant. They do give you insights into certain aspects of who a people are or they think. Like those things, Native American stories are similar. Our characters are very important. The water spirits in themselves, knowing that water came back, that they can only go to where they were assigned originally, and that there will be huge miles of unprotected water now in the spiritual sense, is very distinct to us. And in stories, know that coming, what does it mean? You know, what does the frog mean? Because did we walk up on a big frog, or we just talk about how we need to function as humans? Did Jesus really turn water, which is 80% water, so it's only a 20% miracle? Did these happen? Or what if they did? What does that? What's the life for us? Let's talk it through a little. Is there anything that stood out?
Seems like frog is there. We need to get our tree and do something to this frog.
Yeah, so what could the frog exactly? Frog is could, like during the logging days, remember log jams and just the forestation like that was done in there were 108 between Bangor and Newport on the same side of the river, spewing 100% of their dust into the river, which takes away oxygen from every. And we need oxygen in the water, and we need that sort of to create our system to keep the circle going. You know, we need the sand come up. We need the humans to eat the sand. We need the humans' skin and the bones and back into the river so that it can aid in calcium. You know, we need to happen. They're not doing that anymore. We're throwing them in the garbage can, throwing our recycle bins and our composting, and we're hoarding for ourselves. But salmon aren't coming from the river, so that's an excuse. Why aren't they coming from the river? Because we don't have the levels we used to have, or there's dams. Well, we need to see if this is a dam. What water I drink, or I get, and one day I'll rule this world. Was it a lot before? Was it something else before that? These stories are ancient. What mean throughout time? So, one of the things I thought the most and this was always emphasized when the story grew up, and it never really had any impact until I got older, was take care of problems now so dire that we only can forward, can't go back, right? So what was the situation here? Is that they waited till the water was gone before they said, "Oh, we have a problem," right? We shouldn't wait till the water's gone. The minute it went down, they had no. The water had gone down. It had left a water mark when the tide goes. But it wasn't tide. This fresh water. They'd never seen it before. It's water. But they still had the water, so they continued on. They should have at that time sat down. They'd have been able to walk up along the edge of that water, but other people did a long way, and maybe attack this frog before the frog got so big that it became too big for any human or any human arm with weaponry to destroy. So these things really point in our story. Any other key points anybody took away? There's many in the stories. Yeah.
Everyone finding a way to avoid it.
Exactly. Perfect. Really good not many people pick up on that one. That's always like, I always want, you can get that, but yeah, I'm glad. I like that going. It's like a little sore right here. But so, no one wanted to help, right? It's not going to do us any good. You know, there's other things going on. Yeah?
Did that wanting to go, it was so each person thinking they were too important.
Yeah, so initially in that one council circle, everybody thought they were too important, right? I have other things to do. I'm not doing anything right now, but what if? Right? Yeah, and everybody trying to rationalize instead of taking action. And, you know, we do need certain sort of ability to create energy so that we can have our computer on or on or things, but there are other ways to make that happen than high power, maybe. But there's also action around, inaction around a time when we need action. And when a time when you don't really need much action and you need maintenance. So we have this process, and then we have action. We're always in the process, and we're going to reach the action. It's never going to get a key point, or just always step into action. And tribal, we always have to step into action all the time. I'm going to stop. The process, the goal, process of, if you can't, it's a human body here, 7-year-old body, but there, with his arms outstretched, fingers like this, my 100 and massive pound muscle, probably going down those fingers. It is muscle, baggy clothes, and so this is what we do. As humans, we need to work together. Now, where in this history does it talk about the job of a woman or a man or the job of a brown, white, or yellow, or red, whatever person? Nowhere does it say that. It says humans, people, need to work together. In indigenous societies, we try to protect our land, our ancients, and in a modern society, the blood flows in our veins, not modern. It's the blood of our ancestors, right? Like, and so we have obligation to our ancestors, and that water, sustain those ancestors, is here, and we're only given so much water on the planet. Create more, destroy it, so we make less. And so, how do we maintain, and how to work together? Very important in our sort of thinking. We just a recent court case again. Governor raised heavily about it doesn't matter who's governor, what party they're affiliated with. The state of Maine has a history of oppression in native tribe of Maine. The only state in the union of all 50 states where the Maine tribes have 20 less than all other recognized tribes in the nation. And so we lost this case again that basically went through the appeals court in Boston that said we do not have the right to protect the river as it was never ours to begin with. And so we didn't fish it from boats, we fished it from the land. We didn't use fishing poles, we used nets. These really strange sort of unfactual things. We did use string, we did canoes. We fished through weirs, we fished in many different ways. But these cases brought in court, or these examples. So we lost our case again. Well, some people rejoice. Yes, the tribes would rule. They'd make water quality stricter, and they'd make the water more accessible to people doing recreation. We don't want that. Our river that flows has to be quiet. Boats going down. We don't want fun on it. We want it to be quiet, dirty, and dead, and whatever. That's how we do it. So what if there's a turd floating by that he dropped in there? That's okay. So we do this for the benefit of human existence. And we do this through allyship. So we create allies, telling Greg, who is, spent life as her, that I was there on the phone when you called me. I was going to be here, and my hair was combed and stuff. And you want to share stuff. Crazy. Yes. And honestly, to this day, I do not know how to tie a tie, so I honestly do not know how to do that. That's something I do not have. I went to the proms like, Dad, can you tell me how to laugh? Labor, have them tie and then just loosen it. I can just do this 100 times. I don't know. I don't wear it. Like a real quick, I kill you. I don't think giving anybody opportunity. So we I'm difficult as come on. But there's still thing around that I noticed over the years. I have a cousin, Sherry, who's an attorney, and Peace Foundation. I myself educated and have done a lot around education and science education and stories and all kinds of recertification, and I've taught tons of students at the university. Taught in a K school for 8 years. So retired teacher here. I worked. Couldn't believe it when he walked around the corner. Still alive. He was so old when he retired. Just kidding. Maybe he was dead. But and somebody dropped the battery. Just like pretends here. Got it in his pocket. No, it's good to see him. But there's this thing where we can have all this education, all this experience, all this talent. All of us natives standing with somebody who's important to make a decision. They don't hear us. It takes one person to say us that gets it. So it's important for us, not to say they can't do it on, but it's important to have allies, is what I'm saying. And that these allies can be just there. Make the crowd bigger. You don't have to say, you don't have to be obligated to anything. Just be there, because that strengthens our voice. When we do speak, it's amplified because we got support. And we look at this river, and we realize maybe 3 years of tribal council and our tribal chief personhood to the river. We recognize the river as a Penobscot citizen with right, health, dignity, happiness, cleanliness, and its ability to survive as any person could and would. That was a big thing for me. Personally, I've been paddled the river from Ambitious Lake to North Island 5 times in a row. Bring awareness to the of this river. Teachers out, bringing students in these places, doing songs and stories on the shore of the river. We went down to educate about it through the Penobscot River case. Very important for me when they did it. A new tribal hall right now. It's in planning stages. And I told him, I said, so what's the facade when you go through? He said, oh, it's just a cedar. There's a grandmother. I said, great, put the grandmother in. Nice, warm and cozy. Keep the cedar in there. I want to see this. I want to see somebody from Ambitious Lake, Taven Island, to whatever island, Scott, both sides, pick a nice rock and bring it to Indian Island. And that facade, rock, our river, that we actually have bones the person that we're after, that we be personhood. So that I walk through that door, tribal hall, into administrative office and museum, you're going through something that existed for thousands of years on the side of the Penobscot River. So well, you're in the planning committee. I'm not gathering rocks, but I just think it's a cool. But, we need to, like we do with anybody, when anybody's sick, take care of them. We care about. I care about. I'm amazed at who I care about. I think I got my own thing on, and I care about my family, I care about things that have been with me and me. But then, you know, if a friend's sick or a friend's passing or something, bad news, then I'm going to that person. I'm you know, the person who doesn't have to live. To know that everything they did better for me. I mean, other people, their work was important. It's hard to say. It's true. You'd be surprised that, you know, people who paved the way for us, you know, it's not in field or our purview, what they did for human existence was important. To say this to our elders, that they're important, because if they don't, no one can say it to an elder. So to say those things, say it to the river, that's an elder. It's an elder that will never die, we hope. But so we need to practice. Yes.
I have a geeky academic question.
Page 23, second paragraph down.
That is the concept of public space.
Yep.
How, in terms of culture, coalition building in your interests in relation to public space, good.
It's really important because, you know, public space is a resource. So look at that word, resource. It's like, we got this resource. That means we think we go take from it. That's for us. Right. So we understand as indigenous people to give back. And that a resource, it's not a resource, it's a survival mechanism. It's a piece of something there. It's also a resource for the animals, it's a resource for the birds. So public space it's categorized, right? Whether it's a predator. If it is, we nurture it back because it's not going to be forever. The woods are so thick now, you can't walk them. You know, sometimes when I was a kid, we could look at the woods and we could look through there, but the climate is changing and the rain, acidity in Maine, chemicals that they're bringing, they promote growth, undergrowth. And people look at all that rich undergrowth, so rich, you know, but that actually is being the soil. That undergrowth is supposed to be. It's only because of what's coming through the air. I'm going to be very simple about it because I'm not a scientist. But it brings all those nitrogens and all sort of different things in the ground and promote undergrowth and should be there. Looks it's there at healthy. And that's a misnomer. So when we look at space and we lose that force for all humans. In space, we depend on it, we can utilize it like other ways. Right? And so, in order to protect public spaces, in order to work together, you know, I kind of identify. I know that I got a phone call a week about this Belfast fish farm. Like fish farms, but a fish farm is dead. Did some research into it and found out some what are the controversies and things like that. And if it's contained, maybe it violates public space. I'm not making an assumption, opinion on whether it's bad, but that it's somebody's public space, right? So, you know, Belfast is going to give them shoreline for their public space. and how are we going to, and what's going to happen in return. So never is something get without the intent of taking something back. Trade. There was this one, she was a native, was hitchhiking. She got picked by this other, this woman was native. She was in the middle of the bag. It was wrapped, it was in the cup holder. It was sit at the top, and we kept looking at this bag. The non-native woman looking at her, and getting a little, she goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, "What's in the bag?" "A bottle of whiskey for my husband." Native woman said, "Great." Yeah. So we have to understand how each person is looking at something and understand how we're going to utilize something. We need to get all on the same page. It's a joke, but it works with this and that. So, but that's what you're just. That's another whole lecture, and it's bad for ship or building. So we do people do this training with people that I'm sure some of you do it. Some of the reach training or the land peace fund training or something like that. But we need to first of all, we all have to get on the page, understand the same terminologies mean, and how to perceive what we're doing. And we all know it has to do with the protection and the utilization in certain areas. But we understand too that industry has still fund, people still have to make a check. So how do we do that in a good way, balance? The Sire prophecies and Anishinaabe prophecies, and they started 2,000 years ago, and they said there is a large chunk of Wabanaki people that leave the coast because bad's coming. To go inland. And during those hundreds of years, people are moving, and half the Wabanaki went inland, became actually what we call today the Anishinaabe, or the Orono thing. And they stop migration when they find the food that grows on water. When they found the food that grows on water, they stopped their migration. Hundreds and hundreds of years to do that. We gave them ceremony, step 6 ceremony, because if they're all killed on the coast, they would still have half our owners would still be people. And as you can, if you look these up, they're written about, but 7 prophecies of the Nabe, 7 fire prophecies. And the last, it says, get to the 8th and last fire, or 7th fire, it will lead to the 8th and last. Well, we're in the 7th fire now. We're in walking into the 8th, the last fire of prophecies. The sea as well, not prophecy. We don't have anything to say it. And it's that man, humans, come to a crossroad, and the way of the mind or the heart, trade. Because take the trade of mind, that's the money in the industry and the creation of the earth that provides for us. If we take the way of the heart, that's to go back and everything its life. But we can't totally do that. We can't, because of who we are today and what we rely on. We all live, we all have our houses, we all have children, pick up resources, and we have need to turn on a computer or look at a phone or to read a book and print, cut, and paper and glue and process. Whatever it is, we have a balance, right? So I was asking one holders what did the middle. We need to have the middle. Well, they gave us 2 choices, but we need the middle. And they said, that's possible. That walk in such a way that we can let earth heal. It still exists in a comfortable place that we're at with depleting environment anymore, and given back. And so we're at that crossroads. I'm one who believes that we go the way of the line completely, can't, because there's enough jobs. But we can't all the way of the heart completely. We can't give up who we are, including our mental systems, the knowledge we have of that, and the sort of technology that's around that can help us as humans live better things, not worse. So there's lessons with that kind of into what we're talking about with this commonality and camaraderie and things we need to maintain. Oh my God, look at this. Only got one. I'll be here until midnight. Okay, good. So,